the midst of AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery TV Rights deal negotiations, in the midst of their exclusive window closing in 7 days, with their biggest show of the entire year only 4 weeks away, AEW is desperately looking to make a splash in the mainstream media. This morning, we woke up to the news and visual evidence that Shane McMahon has indeed met with AEW President Tony Khan about future possibilities within All Elite Wrestling. What does this mean for the future of AEW? Who took this picture that you see floating around on social media? And is this all one big coup for Tony Khan? He wanted this information out there, and I believe right now is the right time to get all this out right before their biggest show of the entire year. We will discuss all of this today on Off the Script. Jim Ross, a couple of months ago, stated that it's a possibility that Shane McMahon joins AEW. It started off as an innocent discussion, an innocent comment that got picked up by several social media outlets that cover pro wrestling. Jim Ross said on Grilling JR, and I quote, "Yeah, it would. It's so crazy that it might work, depending on how it was positioned and how it was introduced. Shane called me the other day. He's called me 2 or 3 times, which I really appreciate. He's always been sensitive in that respect. That's only a question that Shane could answer. Shane and Tony Khan being together, how would that work creatively? Heck, who knows? Might be great, but in any event, that all depends on Shane and what he wants to do." End quote. Not long after that original report and that statement was heard from JR, there was another report that Shane McMahon and Mercedes Moné ran into each other around Forbidden Door at the airport, and they had a meeting, which was casual. They bumped into each other at the airport right after Forbidden Door. And then things got started again in regards to Shane McMahon and possible involvement with AEW. Then we wake up on Wednesday morning, July 31st, today, and we see visual evidence that Tony Khan had recently met behind closed doors with Shane McMahon about possibilities in the future with AEW. This was broken last night, teased last night, and the full story came out this morning via Wrestle Talk and Fightful in a joint effort, a joint exclusive. They have learned that AEW CEO and President Tony Khan had a private meeting with Shane McMahon this week. They can report that the meeting took place in an office at a private Arlington airport on Monday, July 29th, 2024, during the afternoon. You guys see the picture right there. It looks like Tony Khan was ready for the photograph, and you see Shane McMahon in the background there on the left-hand side. He seems completely unbothered that somebody was in this quote-unquote private meeting, barged in there with a ready and aimed cell phone, and then snapped this picture. Who exactly snapped this picture? Why was this picture so easily taken? And then why wasn't this person stopped or the photographic evidence deleted soon after this picture was snapped? Or maybe AEW, maybe Tony, maybe Shane wanted this out there for all you conspiracy theorists. I think that they wanted all of this information out there, and where there is smoke, there is fire. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has confirmed with sources that the meeting did take place. Clearly, we see the visual evidence, with Khan and McMahon discussing possibilities moving forward. Sapp noted that Khan had been open to talking to McMahon for a while, but it's believed they had never met previously or even spoken before all the rumors about McMahon possibly joining AEW emerged in the last few months. Tony Khan is said to have been very open to using Shane McMahon for several weeks now, and also had made it clear that he was open to the idea of talking to McMahon when people have brought the topic up to him backstage. Those that Fightful spoke to on Tuesday had not been briefed on a meeting. Why would they be filled in? This is something that's going to be closely guarded to the vest, at least with Tony Khan. He never tells anybody anything. Publicly, Tony commented in a recent interview on the Maggie and Perloff show that McMahon was welcome to stop by anytime, and he seems like a really nice guy. Khan also told Sports Illustrated that he has a lot of respect for Shane McMahon as an executive and as a professional wrestler, and he's always welcome in AEW. Shane McMahon had been absent from WWE since WrestleMania 39 in April of 2023, where he tore his quad just seconds into a match against The Miz, which was one of the most embarrassing WrestleMania moments of all time. Fightful reported in June 2024 that he was under no kind of contract with WWE as of that story being released, and WWE confirmed that to Fightful in an official capacity. Fightful says they will keep everybody updated on further updates on discussions between Shane, Tony, and AEW as more news unravels. I know a lot of AEW fans, first of all, a lot of AEW fans are going to be very, very hypocritical, and a lot of you guys are going to be exposed for this information now being publicly available. How many of the AEW elitists and the super fan Twitter accounts and all these nauseating engagement farmers, how many of you guys are going to be exposed as hypocritical scumbags when you go out there and you showcase your fake excitement for Shane McMahon, when previously Tony Khan had basically called anybody associated with the McMahon-run WWE or anybody McMahon, World Wrestling Entertainment? Where were you guys when Tony Khan was calling them the Harvey Weinstein of professional wrestling? I'm sure you had a great laugh. You guys were all celebrating and throwing the ticker tape parades. Oh, man, our boss got them really good. And now here Tony Khan is talking to a McMahon, which right now the McMahon name is basically irrelevant in the world of pro wrestling. Canceled in the world of pro wrestling. I'm sure you guys are going to be really, really excited about this information now available to all of us. I know a lot of the AEW fans who have watched the product for 5 years are going to look at this as scary. I don't blame you. I know a lot of the AEW fans are wondering what's happening here. They're a little hesitant. They don't want to jump on board. They don't want to get excited about this because, let's be real, Shane McMahon and his creative vision really isn't the best. There's not a great track record there for Shane McMahon, but I don't really think Shane McMahon would be coming in if, let's keep it as an if he comes in to work alongside Tony Khan to help the future of AEW. I don't think he's going to be given a sole role. I don't think he's going to be put primarily in charge of anything. I think he's coming in for a completely different reason. You guys have every right to be worried. The original vision of AEW from 5 years ago is not the vision that you see now. I get that you're scared. But the original vision of AEW is not working 5 years later. That's why Tony Khan is sitting down with Shane McMahon. I want to reiterate that to you. You all may be afraid. You all may be scared. You all may be wondering what's happening to my beloved AEW. What happened to the original vision? The original vision has slowly been changing, and you started to see that change last year. And you see it even more so this year. The original vision that was AEW is not the original vision of the company 5 years later. It's also the primary reason why everything AEW is down. Ratings are down, attendance is down, demos are down, social media numbers are down, content creators' social media numbers are down. When anybody talks or mentions AEW, interest in the overall product is down. Pay-per-view buys are down. AEW has TV rights negotiations ongoing with Warner Brothers Discovery. What do you expect Warner Brothers Discovery to give AEW for a re-up or a renewal? Do you expect them to just willingly give them an increase? Hey, man, you guys are consistent 52 weeks out of the year. We need that type of programming on our end. We're also losing the NBA. We're going to give AEW all this amount of money and nothing about how they're presented and nothing as far as their vision is going to change. Do you expect AEW to get an increase in revenue for a TV rights deal when they are trending down in every capacity? I don't see that being the case at all. They're going to get an increase just based on the fact that they are a consistent entity on Warner Television, but that's about it. This is why pro wrestling is so lucrative. This is why pro wrestling is unlike anything else, where everything has an off season. AEW, WWE, pro wrestling doesn't have an off season. They're on 52 weeks out of the year. New programming 52 weeks out of the year. But Warner Brothers Discovery is going to need more from Tony Khan as confidence. Shane McMahon is that confidence. Shane McMahon is that answer. You can't go into the TV rights deal telling Warner Brothers Discovery, oh, well, I got Will Ospreay. Oh, I got Mercedes Moné. I just signed Kazuchika Okada. He's the best pro wrestler in the entire world, man. He's putting on 8-star matches, man. Meltzer's giving him Pro Wrestler of the Year 17 fucking times. You think Warner Brothers Discovery wants to hear that shit? Nobody wants to hear that shit. It's the primary reason why the fucking company is failing in every fucking capacity. Now, granted, they put on great television lately, but great television for the last 3 weeks is not going to get them this overwhelming, oh my God, blow-away deal from Warner Brothers Discovery. What is going to change? David Zaslav and Warner are going to ex Tony Khan. What are you going to do differently? What are you going to show us differently in the next 5 years that you didn't show us in the first 5 years? Shane McMahon is the answer. Shane McMahon's not going to be the answer to all of their fucking problems. Shane McMahon's not going to be the second coming of Jesus Christ for professional wrestling, for AEW. The hype around Shane McMahon when he makes his debut with the company, when they bring him aboard with the company, the hype will die down in 3 to 4 weeks, and then it'll go back to being normal. CM Punk did the same thing. The hype around CM Punk was at an all-time high for the company, and then obviously things go downwards after that. Same thing's going to happen with Shane McMahon. Punk couldn't normalize the ratings over a long stretch. Business was better when he was there, but Shane McMahon is not going to be the answer to all of their problems. Sasha Banks wasn't. Okada wasn't. Will Ospreay wasn't. All the ex-WWE guys they brought in weren't. CM Punk wasn't. Bryan Danielson wasn't. Adam Cole wasn't. Shane McMahon is going to be there for more than what you think. The fears that people are thinking about when they say, oh, man, a WWE entity like Shane McMahon coming on into AEW, man, I'm afraid of my old AEW dying. Where's the AEW that I fell in love with? Listen, folks, that AEW died 3 years ago. That AEW hasn't been seen since year 2. Year 3 was their best year ever. And then after that, goodbye, it was all over. So what do you want? You want them to stay the course and do what they've been doing, which is not growing the company? Or do you want Tony Khan to go out there and make strategic moves to keep AEW interesting and to bring AEW into more households and into the mainstream media even more so than they are now? Which do you want? Which would you prefer? I don't know if you AEW fans are paying attention at all. If you paid close attention to what is going on here, AEW has brought in a lot of ex-WWE entities to AEW. Kosha Irby, he is the chief operating officer for AEW. He held a position in WWE previously. They brought him in. Jennifer Pepperman, they brought Jennifer Pepperman in to solely write for Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. That was Mercedes' personal writer in WWE. They brought her on in. Now she's an executive producer, and she helps with the creative, not only for the women's division, but for the entirety of the AEW product on AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision. They brought in Adam Hopkins, who worked PR for WWE. Now he's head of public relations for AEW. Mike Mansory, He's basically, or he was going to take Kevin Dunn's job in WWE, and now he is the Kevin Dunn of AEW. He's the senior vice president and co-executive producer alongside Tony Khan. On top of that, he's got Bryan Danielson, does Tony as his right-hand man. He refers to Bryan about everything that's going on. Bryan has his hand in many different pots when it comes to AEW. So if you don't already see that your AEW is changing, if you're worried about where your old AEW is, again, I reiterate, that AEW died years ago. The original vision of AEW is no longer the vision for AEW. Shane McMahon fitting into the AEW plans. I don't see Shane McMahon coming to AEW and becoming an active in-ring performer. He'll probably want to get his feet wet with someone here or someone there. But Shane McMahon coming on in is going to be more than just an on-screen role. Do I think he should have an on-screen role if he does come in? Absolutely. And I've not shied away from this because I've planted my flag and put my cap, my Braves cap, on that flag many times when I've been asked this question. Do you want to see Shane McMahon on AEW television? The answer is yes, I do. Yes, I do. For all the people that are afraid of your old AEW not being the same, I think it's time we now venture into a new direction. I'm not saying AEW needs to be WWE light. I'm not saying AEW needs to take everything that WWE is doing and apply it to their television program. But that doesn't mean with what WWE is doing, if AEW does it, it won't work. I really feel like with the overwhelming bloated roster and the storyline that we have right now, it would be such great television to see Shane McMahon on TV be brought in by the Elite as the man who is running the Elite, and through the EVPs take that storyline from where it is right now, which is dead, to a different level and make Shane McMahon president or give him some high-level executive role via the Young Bucks, via the Elite, and have him run AEW Dynamite while Tony Khan goes and runs AEW Collision, because they don't want anything to do with Collision. Collision was specifically made for Phil, CM Punk. Shane McMahon running Dynamite and Tony Khan running Collision would give AEW a very, very good excuse to split the rosters. That is the answer to a lot of their existing problems, honestly. And I've said that time and time and time again. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, you just want to turn AEW into WWE Light. No, I want to make sure that everybody gets a fair share of the AEW pie. I want to make sure a lot of the talent is being featured. And I want to make sure that the interest in the overall product is up where it needs to be. When you watch Raw, you know exactly who you're getting. When you watch SmackDown, you know exactly who you're getting. When you watch NXT, you know sometimes exactly who you are getting, depending on if WWE wants to bring in TNA or someone from the main roster. For the most part, you know exactly who you're getting down in NXT as well. I want to know who I'm getting when I watch Wednesday Night Dynamite. I want to know who exactly I'm getting when I watch Saturday Night Collision. I want to know who I'm getting when I watch, if I watch, maybe I'll never watch, Ring of Honor. Everything needs to be separate. With the amount of payroll that Tony Khan has, that would be the best way to go about it. That would fix a lot of their problems. Do I think it's going to go that way? No, because this company never admits that they're wrong. Tony Khan and company never admits that they're wrong about anything. But other than that, I don't see Shane McMahon having a role on television that you think is going to be. I honestly think Shane McMahon's coming on in because AEW needs a shot in the arm bigger than they've ever gotten before, and nothing else is working right now. Their current model of, hey, man, let's give everybody great professional wrestling is not working. It's not. Look at the numbers. Shane McMahon is going to come on in, and he's going to inject some life on the back end and give AEW the boost that it needs to normalize itself in the mainstream media and make it a little bit more, hey, man, let's go out and grab that casual audience. Because right now, all you got is the fucking sickos that Tony Khan is booking for with these people that half of the fucking people watching this show don't even know. That's what needs to be. Shane McMahon is going to do more than just what you think, do more than just be on television. How many connects does Shane McMahon have? How many people does Shane McMahon have access to that Tony Khan doesn't? How many people does Shane McMahon have in his Rolodex that he could give to Tony Khan and he could build relationships through other avenues to build AEW bigger than it ever has been? That's why Shane McMahon is there. Shane McMahon is a McMahon. Mainstream media. This will be picked up by every major news outlet in the pro wrestling realm, in the mainstream media realm. I know a lot of people are going to look at the McMahon name and think, oh my God, the McMahon name, nobody wants to associate with the McMahon name. But let's be real, Shane has been disconnected from his father for many, 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 many years. There's no relationship there between Shane and Vince. This is not a way, conspiracy theories, this is not a way for Shane to come on into AEW to welcome his father back into the pro wrestling space. No, that's not going to happen. But Shane McMahon coming on into AEW, wrestling is in his blood. He's one of the McMahons that I think a lot of the pro wrestling fan base related to. He was the younger, cooler, hip McMahon. He had his finger on the pulse a little bit more. Shane also on his end might want to clear his name, might want to clear his family's name. I don't think Shane knew half of the fucking shit, 75% of the shit that his father was doing behind closed doors. I don't think Shane, being a dad and a husband and someone who loves his mother dearly, I don't think Shane wants anything to do with Vince McMahon, and I don't think he looked at Vince McMahon as anything more than a fucking monster. Shane may want to clear his name. Clearly, WWE won't have him back. TKO is moving in a different direction. He doesn't get along with Paul Levesque. Obviously, he's got wrestling in his blood, like I just mentioned. Where's he going to go? If he wants to be in pro wrestling, where is he going to fit in? He's not going to TNA. He's not going to start his own wrestling promotion like it was rumored Vince was going to do after he clears his name, or at least tries to clear his name. That's a money pit. Why put all that resource and all that effort into something that ultimately might fail? Shane McMahon and AEW could be a great partnership if Shane still has that wrestling itch. He could also be the bridge for talent to stay with AEW that liked Shane McMahon for working for him over there, that are in AEW now, could be the bridge to them staying, could be the bridge for WWE talent that may have contracts coming up to bring them on over in, because that talent, those talents trusted Shane, had a great relationship with Shane. But it all revolves around Tony Khan. Tony can't give too much power to Shane McMahon. Tony can't sign over too much power to Shane McMahon, because this is Tony's baby. So whatever happens here, Tony's got to be very careful about what he does give to Shane on the back end. Shane needs to have a role. Shane needs to have some creative input, not all creative input. He needs to be an asset for Tony to go out there and look for, ask questions to, because Shane is a McMahon at the end of the day. He's seen it. He's been through it all. He has seen his father run the WWE to the most successful pro wrestling entity in history. So the assets and the knowledge that Tony Khan would have at his fingertips with Shane McMahon are endless. You can't put a price on that. So for all the AEW fans that are thinking, hey, I don't like this idea, this is a bad idea, on the back end, there's a lot more positive than there are negatives in regards to Shane McMahon joining AEW. I would not be worried about that. I would honestly feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that AEW might finally be in the place that they need to be in, because the original vision that we're still fucking harping on 5 years later is just not working. You and I may all love great pro wrestling matches. We all may love the athletic competition that pro wrestling is. We all may love a 60-minute Iron Man match between MJF and Will Ospreay, which is great. But at the end of the day, you're not going to sell people on fucking pro wrestling and it only be pro wrestling 2 hours every Wednesday. We need to make AEW great once again. We need to bring AEW, the magic that is AEW, back. Whatever the fuck that magic was. It's not there anymore. It's disappeared. Shane McMahon is that. Now, is this something that was done purposely today? Absolutely. There's no fucking way that you look at this picture and you look at Tony Khan looking into the camera and you look at Shane McMahon completely unbothered. Man, it's a Wednesday night and we're 4 weeks away from their biggest show of the year. Everything is done strategically. Everything is done by design. Everything. They wanted this picture out there. Now, I don't know how Wrestle Talk got this picture. I don't know how Fightful got this picture. I'm assuming someone snapped this picture and they were paid on the back end for this picture so that Wrestle Talk and Fightful may use this to sell this as news. But who snapped this photo? Who, realistically, think about it. Who snapped this photo? Who's walking into this private meeting, right, at a tiny airport in Arlington? Whoever was in this meeting was, I'm sure, supposed to be in this meeting. You're not going to get some fucking TSA geek or some fucking airport employee walking into this private meeting. First of all, why is it at an airport? You're not going to get one of the airport employees walking into this meeting, barging on into this meeting, snapping a photo, and then running away. You're not going to get it. This picture was strategically taken and then wanted to be leaked. Tony leaked this photo. He wants you to know what's going on. He wants you to talk about it because they got nothing else going on. Great pro wrestling is great pro wrestling, but on the back end, what else do they got? They're automatically going to be dwarfed in every aspect by what WWE's got going on. WWE's got WrestleMania talks in London. They're securing deals with Indianapolis, and they're securing deals with this and that. And WWE's got SummerSlam this weekend. WWE's got major shows coming up, and Punk is back. Rock is just wrapping up filming. Roman's coming back. AEW's got nothing. What do they got? Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné. Hey, man, that's great. Tony Storm versus Mariah May, man. That's fantastic. What do they got? Mainstream media, what do they got? They got nothing. MJF, Will Ospreay, fucking great. Two of my favorites right now, period. Top 1 and 2. But what do they got? They got nothing. They got nothing. Tony knows what he's doing when it comes to this type of thing. Does it come off as desperate? Sure. It does look desperate. But McMahon, a McMahon associated with AEW after Tony has vilified the McMahons and vilified WWE and spoken down about WWE, he's got to deal with that on the back end. I'm not Tony Khan. I'm not. He's got to deal with that blowback when that eventually is going to come. Does it come off as desperate for ratings and desperate for interest and desperate for attention? Sure. But they are running out of options in a year where they need to secure TV rights deal. Otherwise, they don't have a fucking home for their television program. Their exclusive window closes in 7 days. They got their biggest show of the year coming up in 4 weeks that significantly took a decrease in ticket sales from 81,000 to less than 50 this year. And every show leading up to it has been down at least 50% from where it used to be. They got to do something. Meanwhile, the AEW fans don't want this to happen. The AEW elitists don't want this to happen. Tony is telling you, without telling you, hey, man, I want you to know what the fuck is going on here. I want you to know I'm talking to Shane. Whoever snapped this photo should have been stopped on site, phone confiscated, and possibly arrested for breaking into a meeting that didn't involve him and leaking private information. They wanted you to know exactly what they were doing. I am in favor of this move. I am absolutely in favor of this move. And when and if it does happen, I am going to tell you again that I think this is a good move for AEW. Now, obviously, it's an if. When do we unveil Shane McMahon? When do we announce that we are in partnership with Shane McMahon? When do we get him to sign an AEW contract potentially? AEW, they strategically leaked this on a Wednesday. We could see come Friday, some people in the community are saying that within the next 7 days, we're going to get news that AEW and Warner are in partnership again, and we have a 4 to 5 year deal for X amount of money, and they're going to retain the rights to AEW. We could see at some point, Friday seems to be a good day. Let's take some of WWE's thunder away from SummerSlam weekend and a Roman Reigns possible return, Rock possible return. Let's leak the news on Friday that we are signing with Warner Brothers Discovery, and we got Shane McMahon on board, and we'll do everything in New York City. That's a possibility. Friday could be a possibility. Or maybe we do it all in weekend, because that is their biggest show of the year, and that is where most of the eyes are going to be focused on AEW. Or I said on social media, if they do sign with Warner Brothers Discovery and they do get an extension, man, that first show coming out of the new deal, their anniversary show come October, I think that would be also a great possibility for Shane to just show up on AEW Dynamite. Any one of those three could work. But whatever the case may be, it needs to be a major deal. Press, media, Shane taking questions from the media. It needs to take place in New York City. It needs to be made into the biggest possible deal that AEW could make it. And I'm in favor of it happening, because everything else has failed. I could sit here and tell you I'm a fan of the show, but I could also sit here and tell you that I'd like for AEW to grow into what it used to be. I'd like to see AEW get out of this dark phase that they're in and go back and recapture that magic somehow, but in the mainstream eyes, in mainstream media, grow into knowing what we know it could be. And you can't do that under the current model. You can't do it. It's not going to work. They will continue to decrease. They will continue to decline year over year if the current model is the model that they're going to embark on. Shane McMahon may come off as desperate. You may feel a little hesitation. You may be afraid. But what else is going on within the company? What else is working? This storyline that they embarked on where they attacked Tony Khan, the elite attacked Tony Khan, it went nowhere. You were all over the NFL draft, and your president was sitting there with a fucking neck brace on, and you ruined it, and it went nowhere. Because the Bucks, they wanted to be cool, and that's all they give a shit about. Did the company grow from that point on? No, they didn't. They got a bigger rating by showing Jack Perry CM Punk highlights from a fucking fight that happened backstage before he went out to wrestle Samoa Joe at All In last year. They got more of a rating based on that with someone who doesn't even fucking work there anymore. You mean to tell me that storyline is a net positive? You know what's going to make it a net positive? Do you know what's going to take it to the next level? By bringing in a McMahon. Not Vince, not Stephanie, Shane. That's what's going to change the course of AEW history. Something needs to be done. And risks need to be taken. This is a risk that I think could work and bring great benefit to AEW. Let me know what you guys think. I'm excited about it. Nothing is official as of yet. This is all speculation. But there is smoke to this fire, clearly, and this picture was certainly put out there because they wanted it to be out there. It's not a conspiracy theory. They wanted it to be out there. But I also do think on Shane McMahon's back end, I do think he wants to clear his name because nobody's going to want to do business with the McMahons, and Shane McMahon is wrestling first. This is in his blood. His family is pro wrestling. And if he could find a way to help pro wrestling while also clearing his name, I think Shane is going to do that and do a very good job at it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications, and please make sure you guys check out all the great content so far this week. Monday night, I was live for Raw. Jason Solomon, a.k.a. the Solomonster, and I were live for TNT Tuesday Night Titans episode 59 last night. 3.5 hours of SummerSlam talk and pro wrestling talk during your week. Go check that out, and I'll be live tonight to get Jesse's opinion on the Shane McMahon news while we cover AEW Dynamite tonight on the post show right here on OTS. We are 4 weeks away from All In. I'll see you guys tonight for more Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.